Morning, guys. I'm Jennifer Harrington. I'm with the Algona Rotary Club. We put on BRAC every year. And thanks for tabling it for a week. I had a fun doctor's appointment last Tuesday, kind of last minute. But I'm here to talk about BRAC. Like you said, you talked to Doug about it. We've talked to Doug about it. We were gonna try and go north. That has construction, so now we've rearranged our plans. We're gonna go through Laverne in the long route, and then we're gonna go up to Wesley and come back for the long route. That's gonna be about 50 miles. So for those who aren't feeling up to it, or if we have very bad weather, you can always just go to Wesley and back. We've talked to both the towns. They are gonna have kind of an event, a fundraiser. I think Wesley's gonna do something for their fire department there. Laverne, I think they're just gonna have, one of the bars open with some snacks and Bloody Marys and beers, as the bikers like. So hopefully, a little bit of money into those towns as well. We have volunteers on every corner. The sheriff's department has, luckily given us some extra deputies. I think the reserves are gonna come and help direct traffic. But luckily, I think there's only like 5 turns on the long course. So hopefully nobody gets too lost. If there is a sag wagon, is what we like to call it, which means that there will be a truck coming behind to kind of pick up any scragglers who might have overestimated their abilities. So with that, I'm just kind of coming saying, this is a fundraiser so that we can give bikes to underprivileged youth here in the county. I think, as you might be aware, because the Kiwanis gives them helmets. We make sure that they have a bike to ride if their family has just not been able to kind of make that budget allocation for them. So that's what we fundraise for, and then this ride is kind of just to have some fun along the side. The registration really isn't too much of the fundraiser, it's more the sponsorships. But we've gotten good numbers so far, and it looks like it should be good weather. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. So if you guys can give me some good weather, I'd appreciate that in the motion, that'd be great. No, so I just wanna say, hopefully, thank you. And if you hear anything about it, please speak of it well or try to enroll some people in it. Because it is a fun event. And then next year is the 10th year of BRAC. And the Rotary our regional conference will actually be up in Bancroft that same weekend. So I know this is kind of previewing next year, but so hopefully next year we're gonna hope to go to Bancroft, and I think Burt, to kind of, and have kind of a bigger event in the sense that there's gonna be some Rotarians from the north part of the state kind of here anyway. So that's kind of where I am. I don't know if you guys have any questions for me.
Remind me of the date again, Jen.
It's June 10th.
Okay.
We begin the ride at 8, registration will be at 7:15, and we start out at the Y. And we will take last minute people, but you might not get a t-shirt. So sad.
And do I have a motion to approve the BRAC 2023 ride across Kossuth County?
So moved.
Motion by Stecker, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Wachter. Any discussion? You wanna put it in the motion that you're gonna have perfect weather, you can.
Do what we can, guys.
Yeah, we'll just
leave
keep
it-
that for discussion.
Yeah, okay.
If I'm around, I might do it.
Okay. Yay.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimous. Have fun.
Thank you, guys. Have a good morning.
Thank you.
Hi.
Yes.
We are up to discussion decision to approve designated parking spots for EMS, EMA.
I'll be the
Wanna
backup.
have Josh wanna call Bill and see if he's gonna have it?
What number is he?
You're not gonna write.
We go to Eagle Walk.
He's sitting, I don't know how much you did. I'm bored outside of 1 yard, but I'm sitting back there. That's fine.
Yeah, we could skip it, but
You wanna,
Well, good luck.
He's 620.
if he wants to come over,
Yeah.
otherwise we'll go to.
We can start on this, he can come over
Okay.
when he gets here.
Oh, he's right there.
Oh,
Phil's right there.
just called him.
Phil, have a good seat up here. We're up to your parking spots for timely response to EMS and EMA.
So, we've talked about this for a couple, 3 years and haven't really done anything, and we finally put it on the agenda. Just kinda looking for a guidance for you guys on the parking spots. When there's an event going on at the election center, or if the police department has an event they go to that's out of town, they park over there and then we don't have a spot. With us coming and going off and on all day long, responding to ambulance calls, different things, it's nice to have access to a vehicle where we can just drive out and go without having to run around the block trying to find where we parked.
You would want them on the north end where you always
It's
park?
nice on the north end because we can drive through those spots.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be 24 hours. I was looking at like across the street at the police department, they have, it says designated parking, emergency vehicles only. But ours could say Monday through Friday, 7 to 5. That way if there's events at the election center on the weekends, you know, they could use those spots.
How would you mark them though? I guess that's,
Paint them yellow and just put a sign on each side with an arrow like they have across the street that says designated parking. Just them outside 2 spots.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Phil between last meeting and this one too, and that was my concern of blocking it for graduation parties or whatever on weekends. If there was elderly people, didn't want them to walk all over the country for no reason, but
Yeah, there's no reason they'd have to be marked at night or weekends.
yeah.
does anybody wanna make a motion to such effect?
I don't know, does
Doug.
Doug have any comments? We talked to Doug too.
Yeah, I'd just like to remind I guess everybody in the room that is secondary road department, that real estate, is secondary road departments. And not that I am against what's going on, I've even offered to go ahead and paint the parking stalls. So, I don't know if any action is needed at all, but, I want that, make sure that everybody understands that.
Cause I wasn't aware of that, because
Yeah.
that parking spots was put in when we remodeled over there. They were added at that time. I assumed that lot went this way, and after talking with Doug, the lot goes the other way, so.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that, so I apologize for not talking to Doug before we put this on the agenda. I wasn't sure, I didn't know how that property line went.
Well, Doug, I guess if you're okay with it, then I think we could move forward.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you even need to make a motion? It's secondary road department parking
I'll just-
lot.
yeah,
That's my,
we'll just go ahead and talk to somebody and get it taken care of somehow.
I
Get it
think-
worked out.
unless somebody has an objection to it by unanimous consent of the board, we'll let Doug go ahead and take care of it.
You and Phil communicate.
Yep,
Yeah, we can do that.
yeah, I don't think we need action on it.
Okay.
You're good, I gotta grab this, that's.
Yep, go ahead, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.
See ya.
Thanks, Doug.
You're welcome.
Next thing on the agenda is courthouse hours. We've had discussion on this for the last, I don't know how many years.
We've got some letters here, some of us have read, but I haven't gotten through all of them either, so we can start, but I'll keep reading on these. So,
Do you all wanna read all the letters? That's,
Is that the last one there, Kyle?
oh, there's another one.
I mean, I think it's a general concern across them.
Yeah, I mean, others can start, but
Well,
I'm gonna be
I guess
reading.
one of the arguments in a lot of those letters was, they get to leave the courthouse for an hour and go run errands. And that really isn't the way it's supposed to work. I mean, that's where you're being paid. You should really stay at the courthouse. You're not really supposed to even leave the courthouse. Cause you're being paid. And so that's one argument that kind of struck me, is that, you know, the argument is that you're able to leave, run around town for an hour and go here and there, but that's not the way it's supposed to work.
I mean, you gotta have lunch.
You take lunch here, or you gotta take time off. I mean, you can't be paid to go run errands.
But I mean, we have people that go home and, you know, it's a paid lunch hour, they go home and they have their lunch.
Yeah, but that's not the way, you're being paid.
I know other counties that are being paid the hour and they go home and have lunch. We're not unique to that. It's not
Yeah.
abused. They get to leave the
But
building.
that
They don't
doesn't
have
mean-
to
but
stay.
that doesn't mean it's justified.
I don't know.
Right.
I'm not sure about that.
I would like to say I did, because last time we talked about it, a week or two ago, whenever that was, it was a new discussion for me. So I went and called all of the counties around us and what they did, and there is some variation. There are a couple of counties that are exactly like we are, but they all, for the most part, either have a paid half hour or a couple have a paid hour, you know, like we have. And there are a couple that, like there's one that, has that 8 to 4:30 time with an unpaid lunch hour, or a half hour and, extended half hour at the end of the day. So I just for information, but, I guess my biggest question is why, if it is a big concern, why, like last time we were talking, it's been 50, 60 years it's been going on. So, I mean, why, I guess, is it I don't know, are you paid hourly or salary? Or does it depend on the department?
They're paid hourly, they're all hourly.
They're all hourly, okay.
It is.
Yeah, we're salary.
Really salary.
Everybody's paying salary for the most part. Right.
They're based on an hourly wage.
Yeah.
Salary is
It's
based on
hourly.
an hour, but it's being paid in
It's
salary.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's based on an hourly wage.
Sure. So I guess well, being, you two brought it up, I mean, what were you thinking as far as you're wanting to change something?
Well, we were reprimanded
Now
or
or
talked about that we
future
had
or-
to, you know, we brought everybody up to equal pay for equal hours. But now you have the other thing, if you're not working those hours, is it equal pay? So you're gonna tell the road department, they're gonna work 40 hours, you tell the jailers, they're gonna work 40 hours.
Right.
And everybody else, why are the county employees in the courthouse not working 40 hours? You have to explain that to the public.
Yep.
That's the question that I get.
And
I don't have a good answer. I mean, it's a nice deal for the employees, I get it. But the question is it right?
I just wonder why it's, I mean, I've not been talking about for 50 years. But I think that's not really kind of a moot point at this point.
It was, at no point has it been brought up, but when we equalized all the pay, that's when the question was asked of the attorney and going.
Yep. I guess my suggestion would be moving forward, that this would be a discussion in the coming budget years rather than implementing something even in an immediate fashion. I mean, if it's been going on for 50 years,
Well, it doesn't affect the budget because. they're
well, but
getting-
what I'm saying is, then you can discuss as far as if the complaint is the difference in salary or different in wage, because of working fewer hours, then in the future, you know, as the years progress, you work towards that difference then. I don't know.
I don't understand what it has to do with budget or deal me,
I
I
guess
guess, getting
the-
paid for noon hour or not.
Probably what Carter could be
Sorry, I didn't say
referencing,
that very good, but
well, what you're, I kinda follow what you're saying there, but if we made a change now, the question that was asked, I think last week was this change figured in when salaries were figured out in this budget process? And the answer to that was no, it wasn't really discussed, so you'd be able to have all those factors of the conversation at the same time, and I think that's probably the important thing. Plus, if we made a change now, do you want it to go into effect
But it shouldn't-
tomorrow,
it shouldn't change
or
because it's still based-
7/1?
It shouldn't make it different, because it's still based on the 40-hour work, 40 hours of work.
Technically, yes, but the actual hours worked of working hours by employees would potentially change if they have longer days, if they have less time for lunch, etc. So the on paper versus reality would be different.
I guess I don't understand it, because it's still based on 40 hours of work. And that's figured in with getting paid for an hour lunch, and then if you're leaving the courthouse and you know, going out to lunch or running errands, you're not actually working for the county then.
Sharon, your hand up, I don't, if you're.
I can't see
I
her.
just, I know you have a lot of letters to read, but, and the hour thing is, I understand what you're saying, Jack, to a point, but in 20 years, I didn't know that I was supposed to stay here for lunch, so I'm just gonna tell you, I had no idea that was a thing. I watch most people in this room stay for lunch. But I think what we're missing, and so you'll see if you actually read these letters, and some of us brought them to help you understand, it's not just about, I don't know who's complaining in all these years because we make adjustments. There's a lot of times, we have 2 people in our office, for example. We are now running sometimes with 1 person because we do both have time to take off. We do drives every day, we do 5 to 6 drive tests a day. Sometimes work through our lunch, and sometimes we're here like motor vehicle is after 4 o'clock. The lunch hour, we're not running around, like we're taking care of our elderly parents, we're taking care of pets that we have to go home to. And the 8 to 4, I'm sorry, it's a very big perk. We talked about this before when we're going through things. It is a very good thing. You can make your appointments if you can after 4. It's hard to get into the clinic because of when they close, right? So you have to adjust. There's just a lot of things, and I think what I've said before is all of us have a job that has a lot of, I don't wanna make every day sound like it's stressful, but it can be. We have a lot of different things happening in our office, and that hour is, you gotta step away. We don't take breaks downstairs unless I have to run home, we're doing errand really quick. Nick lets us take our break that we're supposed to get, but we don't take those on a daily basis. So it is that reprieve to just get away and have a moment and come back and feel better. And I just wanna, you'll see it if you read my letter, but I just wanna say, I've given you 20 years, you've got 23, and you've got an under 6 months over here. And there's been so many things change, and I know that change is a reality, but I feel again, like I've said in the past, it's so much take. You have to look at the staff you have. You have a good staff in this courthouse and road crew and everywhere else, but I'm just saying, think about what you're doing, because it's really hard to keep your good staff, your good attitudes, when things constantly just keep coming in, and I feel like we have to beg for just a couple good things that I feel like we're entitled to a point. We do our jobs, we're here every day. That's all I don't know, I could go on, but I'll just stop. Thank you.
Well, and about leaving the building, the handbook does state even on our breaks, as long as our department head okays it, we can leave the building. That is stated in the handbook.
Maybe it'd be easier to change all the other departments to 35 hours a week now. Put the road department on 35 hours a week, jailers on 35 hours a week and make it all fair for everybody that way. I'm sure there won't be any complaints that way.
Just in the public that pay the taxes.
I mean, have you had a lot of complaints? I'm sorry, I just don't understand, because if we can't get to a certain place either, we're not expecting a clinic to change their hours because I can't get there, or, you know, now we're gonna have a half hour lunch. I mean, like, is this a big thing that people are really upset that we're not here till 4:30?
There's a lot of people that jump me about
I get
the hours in the
a lot about
courthouse,
the fact
yes.
that they're paid for 40 hours and work 35.
Yeah,
I think I've
I
had
get that a lot.
one guy bring it up to me.
It's been that for the
I've
15 years I've been on the board, it's always been an issue.
I've heard a few people talk about how the structure is, that they're paid for 40 technically, but working 35. I can't say it's a very frequent complaint, it does come up here and there, but,
But that's also because a lot
I-
of those people don't realize that it is a 35-hour week.
That's gonna, how would people even know that? I've
Well-
worked here 23 years and nobody's ever said overtime. And I got a lot of people that will talk about this place and complain to me a lot about this place.
yeah,
I've never heard that one.
I don't know that I would put it as the top complaint of the county by any means.
And most likely extending to 4:30, some of us are gonna be here till 5 or after.
Oh, very easily.
I just wanna reiterate what our compensation board says every year about this building and these people. They can't say enough good about the services we give and the time we're here and the times we're called in when needed, no matter what that might be. They show up, they're here, and, they're great employees.
No, it's not an issue about.
No, I know that. I know.
We know the employees are great, that's not the issue. The issue is that it's a question of fairness to all the, to the employees that do work 40 hours a week. I mean, and that's, you know, I mean, if I was working on the road department, I guess I'd be a little upset that I had to work 40 hours a week.
They took those jobs knowing that though. They took those jobs knowing that though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they knew that, right?
We came here.
And I didn't take this job because I'm gonna only work 35 hours. If I look at a week, I'm working well beyond 35 hours. I come in early, a lot of times I leave late.
And I hate to see it be road crew against the courthouse, because I don't wanna have like the board start getting people against each other. That's not what we're supposed to be for. I had somebody actually say, isn't your board supposed to be for you? I'm like, I don't know. That's the first compliment I've heard in 20 years, that you know, Jack, that you have a good staff here.
I've said it many times.
I'm just saying.
I tell people out on the street that we're good employees. And it's not an issue about the employees, it's an issue that's correcting a mistake that was made many years ago that should have never been made. I don't know why the board at that time did what they did, but it was a major mistake.
I had no idea that the courthouse was ever open on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I didn't either, that was before I was born, but, I mean, to your point, Jack, and what Carter said, I think knowing that this has gone on for this period of time, I don't see a need to rush into this right away. And I think that's one of the important things, if or when changes are made in regards to employees, whether it's anything, the more time and more communication that can be had for planning, for looking at different perspectives, for all that stuff is better. So I think, I mean, I'm not saying we should shut the door on this conversation, but I think it should be more discussed or discuss more in the future, especially during next budget cycle, and plan it out if anything has
That doesn't make it
changed.
any easier to change it
Not,
6 months or a year from now. I mean, that basically what you're saying is you don't wanna change it. I mean, it's.
today, no, I wouldn't. I think we can have more conversations about it, but I don't feel it's a top priority for
The
today.
other issue was, you know, by our attorney, and said it's up to the department heads to staff accordingly. Your choice how you staff it. I think he even made the comment that if they wanted to, how did you say, if you wanted to close it at 4 o'clock, they could even. They didn't
Well,
have
it's up to department heads when their employees work, not up to us. We can set the hours of the courthouse, but.
The department heads said yes, staff in the courthouse.
Right.
But if you aren't consistent between your offices, I think it's either gonna cause a bigger.
Yeah,
Well, that would be
I-
up to the electors, and, I mean, they'd be the ones that, either you would, they would think you were, doing what you're supposed to do. I guess we wouldn't be we don't get reelected, that's always a choice, that's always a.
Mr. Wachter, you haven't made a comment yet. We can't leave you out.
Well, I can see both sides of it. I can see the hours should have been adjusted, many years ago, but I can also see the point of, it's been this way for so long. We've got people that have worked here over 20 years with those hours. Let's not rush into it and make a change immediately, after only discussing it for 1 week. We need to have further discussion on it. That way people understand a little bit more about it. And even then, maybe we can make different adjustments, going forward, instead of staying up until 4:30, opening earlier.
My answer is, and I guess from now on, so that as we move forward, any new employee, when you get hired to pretty much say work 40 hours a week.
well, they all get hired under that right now.
No, I mean, when you're trying to get hired, then with the idea that you get hired, you work till you use.
You can't have different
do that
policies.
because that's,
Well, you sure can, but Snap-on does it right now, there's people working on the line right now
that's
that don't have the same
Snap-on, that's not
We are a
the public
public
idea.
Well, I know, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't feel that's appropriate to hire new people under a different situation than current employees are working.
Well, I don't see that we're getting any further with this. Do I have a motion to dismiss this item from the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Wachter makes a motion to dismiss it from the agenda.
What do you mean dismiss it from the agenda?
Well, we have it on agenda for discussion decision, and we're either gonna act on it or we're gonna dismiss it.
I would say we should have a motion to take no action,
Yeah, take no action.
Okay.
Okay,
and I would second that.
And that was, who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Josh did.
Josh did.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, do a roll call vote.
Plath,
No.
Nath,
Yes.
Wactor,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes.
Jerks.
No. Motion carried 3-2. Doug, we're up to ITC.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
We have received an application from ITC for crossing drainage district facility. There is a procedure that the board has for these. They are planning to move their line at Elmore. It runs about a half a mile to the south and then runs east to Highway 169. What they'd like to do is at the state line, run east to Highway 169 and run south. I believe it's still gonna be on private land, just adjacent to the public road right away there. But they'd be crossing lateral 5, and there's 2 mains there that they would be crossing of Drainage District 110. They still have some plans to provide, but there's a couple things that the board can take care of. Your application and approval process application, they can be assessed up to $7,500 for each crossing of a drainage district facility. So that can be determined, and then also, the board at any time can designate an independent professional engineering firm to inspect this. So.
Doug, did you have anything in our packet for location map or anything? I know you've described it.
Couple of weeks ago, that was
Yeah,
put
it was
in,
You know
Would that have been
where
the 16th?
I don't remember exactly.
it's the KV 69 line that comes out of Elmore and goes into Iowa.
I remember the
It's in the
location, I
field
just
right
didn't.
now, if you think if you go out of Elmore, it's on
If you wanna
in the
pass it
field on
down.
the west side of Elmore, then you bring it over to the pavement.
Yep, okay, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. I remember talking about it, I just didn't see anything in here.
Is that?
Yeah, I don't,
Yep. Cause they're
I don't see
Putting
it.
in a site over here, is that what the purpose was, or were they just?
No, they just, are trying to get it closer to the road to make it more easier accessible. I think, that's on Old Railroad right of way, to be honest with you.
You're correct.
When the railroad ran up to,
Yeah.
from Kossuth County up to Elmore and further north, so. But there's still some more things that, ITC needs to get done. They are looking at a December 2023, start date, so there's time. But, one thing they were wondering was what the fee was going to be. And, then, like I say, in other projects, another firm has been appointed to inspect and, that construction process.
And this is this 2 fees or 1? Because there's 2 lines there, I see, a main and a relief. Is that,
Well, I called it one crossing. So if you would like to call it 3 crossings, we can.
okay. So you have 1 crossing for the main and relief and 1 for lateral 5, the 2
Correct.
circles? Okay. Do you wanna look at this?
The only, yeah,
And then that's 2.
they didn't give you a plan where they're gonna set the poles yet,
I have not received that. I've requested it.
did you? I mean, if we know where the poles are gonna be, it'd be a lot easier to know.
Well, they are,
Oh,
part of this is that they will not be placing them on the county tile.
Right, but
They'll
they
be,
should be back a ways in
they'll be
back.
identified.
Yep.
And I think your procedure does talk about some setbacks there.
Yeah,
So,
they'll have to follow our ordinance on drainage district facilities. And I guess, do you wanna waive the fee or you wanna charge the fee?
well, we increased the limit on it to 7,500.
Up to, but you can waive it if you want to. ITC's been good to work with. The only thing that I think it'd be nice if you had some engineering firm or somebody locate the approximate place of the tile before they put the.
Yeah, and we had Bolton and Mick do the wind farm ones, right?
yes,
And they would pay the fee to
They pay the
they
engineering
pay
costs.
the, right,
So if we waive our fee,
the,
they would take care of the engineering costs.
right.
actually, I think Kossuth
It's
County
both. We pay
pays
it.
that and then gets
Reimbursed.
reimbursed
Yeah.
for that cost.
It's a it passes through the county books, so
Yeah.
we're still the, customer of the engineering firm.
Right.
I'd be concerned about waiving the fee because we will have potential other crossings coming up in the near future, and I don't know how that would look as far as setting a precedent in comparison. I don't know if that,
If you're talking about a pipeline or
yeah,
a pole, there's quite a bit of difference in how it would affect the county tile.
I know,
I mean, a pole that doesn't even come close to the county tile is a lot different than having a pipeline that's going under
will
county
they,
tile.
are they able to eliminate any traffic going across them as well?
I do not know. I would assume there's going to be trucks, boom trucks, augers, to place poles, material delivery, then the line. I don't see how they would be, and that's part of the reasoning for this whole process.
Yeah.
Is that they acknowledge that they are going to be crossing drainage district facilities. And the code of Iowa does require that easements be given by anyone crossing a drainage district facility.
You can always have them blanket or put.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be what
Yep.
the engineer that's representing the trustees requires.
Right.
Could we designate an engineer today and then get a estimation of what they'd be going across with equipment and evaluate that next week?
If you're mad at it, it doesn't really matter.
It would protect it, but it's not 100%.
There's nothing 100%.
Well, I know,
And again, that's part of the easement process, that if there is damage done to the facility, that they will be repaired.
but that's part of what fees for too, for
Well,
our
the fee
oversight of
doesn't
it.
pay for repairing it.
No,
The fee is a crossing fee. If they damage it, they'll have to repair it. The fee has nothing to do with doing damage to the facility.
I don't know that we need to max out the fee, but I think we should have a little bit of a fee. Especially without knowing exactly what,
Are we
It goes to-
to reduce
it
it by
goes to the drainage
50% or
district.
is-
yeah, I know,
Yeah. The fee
And that's-
doesn't go to the county, it goes to the
No.
drainage district.
but that, it's their infrastructure that would be being affected, so
Right.
they should have some compensation for that.
Guess my question is, how is it gonna affect it? If it doesn't damage it, it's not affected, that's,
That's an if.
I don't know if the fee has, Marge may be better to answer that question, where exactly the application fee goes to.
It does go to the districts, or it's supposed to.
It's not,
not this,
it's not a certain district,
no.
is what I'm saying.
I believe it does go to the district specifically, where they're crossing.
Well, we've had multiple districts, and I don't know.
The fee hasn't always went directly
Yeah.
to the district.
Again, I think, Marge may, be able to answer that question.
I guess if you want something today, I'd recommend 2,000 per crossing. Instead
That'd be
of the full.
times 3. There's 3 crossings there.
2 is what's listed right now, I guess, so. I'm okay with it either way, but yeah, on that, Jack handed it back, but there's
Yeah.
the main and then the lateral that was listed as crossings. Those 2 circles. The main and relief would be pretty much similar. Yep, that's private.
There's grade 110, that's a big one. That doesn't affect anything, this is all just little tile.
It'd be right there. Well, those are 36 and 34.
Yeah, but this is at 54.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, somebody has to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Bolton and Mink as the engineer for this. crossing and to charge a $2,000 crossing fee per crossing.
Do I have a second, Mr. Stecker's motion?
2 or 3 crossings.
Two.
2. I'll second his motion.
Second by Carter. Any discussion? Seeing none, do a roll call vote, please.
Plath,
Pass.
Nath,
Yes.
Wactor,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes.
Jerks,
No.
Plath.
No.
Alright, thank you. I can print that.
Okay.
We are up to, Doug, you're still up. Secondary road equipment purchase.
Yes, I took some quotes. I requested quotes from 3 individuals, Ziegler Cat, Altorfer Cat, and Banta Trailer Sales for Trail King TK50 tag trailer. This would hold 50,000 gross pounds. I did ask for a option one, which would be a 60,000 pound tag trailer, just to see what the difference in cost was. I received 1 quote from Ziegler. I checked with the others and they were not gonna provide a quote. So I have 1 price. So I'd like to open that up. Here, Tim, there's a motion on the back.
Thank you.
Where is Altorfer out of?
Cedar Rapids,
And Banta is out
Altalissa, Iowa.
of Melissa.
Yeah,
Is that Southern Iowa?
Southwest, I believe, yeah. Okay, actually I have 3, looking at this, reviewing it. Ziegler has provided a price for the Trail King 50, the Trail King 60, and then as another alternate, a Tollmaster 50,000 pound trailer. The price of the Trail King 50 is $41,400 with an availability of December 2023. The price of a T60, that's 60,000 pound trailer, is $52,700 with a delivery date of December. And then the Tollmaster.
Maybe you shouldn't give them, because that wasn't requested, and if we don't accept any of these, and you go back and ask for new quotes, I don't know if it'd be right to even read that one, because it wasn't listed, that wasn't part of the.
Well, we need a trailer, I guess.
Right, but I'm just saying, though, if they're giving you a third one that wasn't asked for, let's say these all.
But it depends on what he asked for, Jack. If he asked for a quote on a 50-ton tag-along trailer and they send a different brand, I don't have a
We do,
problem with it.
in our request for quotes,
Doug, that last one was December 2023 also, right?
yes, correct.
I'm guessing the majority would be a different
The
brand,
county
right?
does reserve the right to waive compliance on minor technicalities of specifications that I provided. So, unless, I guess, if the board is not going to approve a purchase today.
Well, my only concern is that if we open up a quote for a third trailer, the other two companies didn't have the same opportunity to.
You didn't, did you specify Trail King in your bid?
I did, but then again,
Okay,
there is a sentence there that the county reserves the right to waive compliance on minor technicalities of the specifications.
I don't know, I'm just a little concerned about a third option that wasn't available to the other companies. Didn't have a chance to bid if they had the same.
Well, that's fine.
I don't know, that's just my opinion, I'll let the.
We could also have an issue with that, it set precedence for other people to just start throwing out, you know, not what we're looking for, but throwing out other
Well-
options and stuff, and we could end up having, you know, 50
Is
quotes for.
it's mostly just a different brand, right? Or
And
what
it is
it-
in stock,
That is in stock?
so we would have,
I would think we should look at the options if the others wanted to provide stuff they could have.
I don't have a big issue with it because it's technically the same 50,000 pound trailer.
It's a different brand,
Yeah,
Yeah,
same piece of equipment.
I do not think that there will be an issue.
I would read the quote.
That quote was for a Tollmaster 50,000 pound trailer and it's $37,000. And it is in stock,
37,000 even.
correct?
Was that 50,000 in stock?
No,
No.
do,
$52,700 would get it in December, $41,400 would get it in December, and we can, the Tollmaster, 37,000. So I recommend the purchase of the $37,000 trailer.
that's a
Tollmaster.
triple axle
It
tag
is
along.
triple, yes.
Do you know if there's any major significant differences between those two brands?
I'm not aware, I do not know.
So the other two companies submitted,
That's correct.
this is the only bid we have.
Correct. I have requested from 3 companies, received 1 quote back.
Alright, well, that makes a little bit of a difference. I'm concerned about any retribution at the moment.
I don't think there is. It's so hard to get anything now that I would make a motion to approve the purchase of the Tollmaster for $37,000.
Second.
Jack, you second it? Any discussion on the purchase? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimous.
Thank you.
Construction in the right of way.
Did you wanna
Do you wanna
discuss,
go over the
there's some sort
purchases?
of policy
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over that.
purchases?
Yeah. Last week, we had some discussion on how the road department makes purchases. And it was brought up that we should put it on the agenda and do it today. So I would open the floor up to discussion on how the road department makes its purchases and how the limit is set and what it applies for.
I guess I'll start, cause I was one saying stuff last week. I think the biggest issue that I had was the lack of consistency across the county we have a policy or a motion that's passed every year to set the spending limit at $5,000, and secondary road department is pretty much the only one to my knowledge that does not regularly follow that. Not trying to micromanage every single little thing, but I feel like if we have a policy in black and white, it should be followed, so I think we either need to have it or not have it. We can go from there.
If I could say something quick, I asked Todd if he could be here today. In my discussions, again, calling other counties around us and what they do, did speak with another supervisor and as well as another, a county attorney, and I guess a concern was whether the board, once the budget is approved, and that the board can't really say no after approving a budgeted item, you know, within that budget, that a board can't come back and say, no, actually, we decided we're not going to do that. But you can deny a budget amendment, you know, of course, should that be overspent, or should that not fall under a budget that it was supposed to, or whatever. So I asked Todd, after having that discussion, and if you had a chance to look into anything and what you found and what, you know, if you had any insight on that.
Yeah, I did. There's a case, Stream versus Gordy, 716 Northwest 2nd, 187. It's a 2008 case. It involves the county attorney's office suing the board of supervisors for denying an expenditure. It had to do with a different provision, but it has, or different line item or different expense, but it did have some parts of it that were on point. And in line with what your discussion with Humboldt County was, you know, the court said, and this is Supreme Court, generally once the supervisors approve and appropriate the county attorney's budget, you can kind of put any department head in there because they're all basically operating the same thing. The county attorney or any appropriate office, whether it's an elected official or whether it's a department head, can reallocate appropriation within the office so long as expenditures expenditures he authorizes are within his budget limits and for legitimate purposes. So that kind of goes along with what you were saying. So if it's in the budget, he can reallocate funds and purchases as long as it's for legitimate purposes and it's within the overall budget. Once a budget is approved, however, the supervisors continue to exercise an oversight function by virtue of their power of approval over the payment of expenditures. In other words, the auditor can't issue a warrant until the 5 of you approve the expenditure. So looking at it from that standpoint, Section 331, 401 of the code says that the supervisor shall examine and settle all accounts and receipts and expenditures of the county and all claims against the county except as otherwise provided by state law. So looking at it from the standpoint of how the process works, you know, we purchase things, we go through expenses in our offices, and then we submit them to the supervisors for approval. And generally, you know, that is without any hiccup. But if there's a question and something comes up, obviously you probably, you know, look into it and talk to the individual office, the department head or elected official to find out what it's about. So looking at it from the standpoint of where you are right now, you still have the oversight capability. If you put a $5,000 limit, I assume that I assume that the $5,000 limit, and correct me if I'm wrong, just requires pre-approval?
Correct.
Is that what we're talking about? It's not like you're denying them the ability to spend that.
Correct.
It's pre-approval. And so looking at it from the points in this case, I would say that that is fine, that you have that authority to do that. You can, you have the authority to approve expenditures in general, whether it's $5 or $5,000. I don't think that it would violate any laws. You already do it and have done it for how long? You know, I don't know when that started, but it's probably been quite some time. And is it a $5,000 limit? Anything above $5,000, you have to have proof. So you're not denying that department the ability to purchase items above that. You just want to make sure that you know, you're in the loop. Because on the other side, the flip of the coin, if I say spend $6,000 to go out and commit the county to $6,000 and you guys don't approve it, then I'm kind of in a quandary. So I think that looking at it from the standpoint of reasonableness and consistency, you know, I don't see anything wrong with that policy. Now, the offices are different. Obviously, Doug's office is going to have more large expenditures than my office. I think the largest expenditure that I have is a computer here and there. So, you know, I think it impacts the offices a little differently, but I don't see it as being a violation of the law, no.
I guess we always have a discussion here is equipment breaks down in the winter or in the summer, you want it repaired right away, it's a $10,000 repair. Does he have to come to the board and have it approved, or can he come to the board afterwards and say, I had a $10,000 repair?
And I think that's what our discussion is.
That's your discussion, that's your decision, how you want to apply that.
Right.
I mean, you know, like I said, I don't know of any of the offices in the courthouse other than Doug's because of the size of the equipment and the size of the budget, you know, that's going to be a concern. If my copy machine breaks down, it's more than likely under $5,000 to fix it.
Right.
But, you know, Doug's equipment is much more expensive. You know, and whatever the board is comfortable with. You guys handle those approvals and those expenditures, and you perform your legislative function in doing that. How you want to do that, I don't think that it's, you know, my job to tell you how you are to do that. But you know, looking at the difference between the offices, obviously Doug's is different than most of the other offices in the courthouse.
Right.
If you want to make it a different level in that regard, I don't know. That's up to you guys, so.
That'd be my next question, I guess, for, rather than have a policy or not have a policy, or have a recommendation, not have a recommendation, can a board compromise and say, well, because the road department, the engineer's office is so different from the other offices, can you have a different limit? You know, a recommended limit to being, I don't know, I mean, it wouldn't be consistent across all the departments.
I wouldn't necessarily say a different limit, but different circumstances. You know, say he's got a, you know, road grader that breaks down and it's gonna cost over $10,000 to repair. You know, me personally say, do that repair and then tell us about it the next meeting. You know, that this happened, we had to repair a truck. That's great. If it's something that, you know, you're updating a garage door that's, you know, failing and you've known about this for more than 2 weeks and you've, you know, gotten quotes and stuff, and you know this expense is coming, you know, like at least 2 weeks in advance, and you have a chance to bring it up at the board meeting for approval. Now, we're not gonna deny it, it's just that it's something that we wanna see come to us before it's paid out, kind of thing. If it's something that's planned, you know, greater than 2 weeks. Now, the repairs, new tires and things like that, that's a different situation, because if that equipment goes down, we're not saying we wanna hold off and approve the purchase of getting the repairs done. We want that equipment out there working. So do the necessary repairs and bring it to us on the next board meeting saying, this is what I had to, you know, spend to get this equipment back up and running. Just as long as, you know, we know about that expense and what caused it. But like I said, if there's, you know, upgrades or new purchases, like today you brought the trailer to us, you know, can we see that as, you know, time goes on, that if it's something that's planned greater than 2 weeks in advance, that you know that this is coming, you know, bring it to our attention prior to paying it out. That way we can approve, or gives us a chance to ask questions and stuff, instead of, you know, after the fact. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'd like to, if you could please put that in writing.
And I think that's what our
Well,
discussion today
yeah,
was to
and
kind of do.
And I think the garage door being repaired maybe was not the best example. I think the power washer that was
Well,
talked
yeah,
about
yeah.
probably, I don't know, during budget time, 6 months ago. That would have been something that was not it was not time sensitive, it was planned out well in advance, it was not functional even after we paid the bill for it for a while, with the other things that had to be put in place. So I mean, things like that are very clearly planned purchases, I feel should be approved for the process of it mostly, and
Will
information
the
sake.
board meet more than Tuesday mornings, please, so that I can, I mean, we are providing a service to the public. And if it's going to take action by the board, I would just request that the board be here on a Friday morning, so I can, if something happens on a Thursday afternoon, I can get that.
What do you expect that happens on a Thursday afternoon that you're gonna have an expense?
I don't know, I mean, maybe
I would
maybe
consider-
a mower, maybe a tractor blows up.
Okay, so the tractor blows up, what are you gonna do? You're gonna take it into the shop and?
I don't know I'm honest, I don't know what you guys want me to do. I mean, you're saying a lot of things.
Yeah.
I would like to have something in writing. And if you are going to come in, you're gonna cause me to my foreman that make decisions on what to do, you're gonna cause them to call me so that they can get approval. I'm gonna have to call you to get approval. I mean, last week, we needed 18-inch corrugated metal pipe. The semi-load. That's about $25,000. Is that something you want me to bring? I went and ordered it.
I don't feel
I mean,
that applies, it had said 5,000 for any one item in the language, I believe. So I think talking about tires and fuel and corrugated metal pipe and all these other things, you might buy 100 blades, and they might be a total of 50 grand or 80 grand, whatever they are. That's not one item, it's a bulk order, multiple items. A semi-load of fuel is not, I mean, you can cut that a lot of ways, but the normal, every single day expenditures, I think we see them enough on the claims, that's obvious, but upgrading the air conditioning, a new power washer, stuff like that is very clearly planned in advance. I don't see where it would be that hard to put it on the agenda. We talk about it, we approve it, and move on.
I think the biggest question you would ask is, does it keep you operational? Can you operate for more than a week without that power washer or that air conditioner? You know, can you operate longer than a week without it? If yes, bring it to us for pre-approval.
I think there's a lot of things.
No, I know.
And
It
what will the board say if I say this is needed to keep me operational and the board second guesses it? I mean, is there an opportunity with that what you just said, that could happen?
And I'm not saying that's exactly what we're gonna say, I'm just saying, you know.
I mean, there are
We're trying to
engineering
find,
jobs,
we're trying to
Josh,
find
open.
wording that.
Maybe you need to go and apply to Pocahontas County.
I think there's a lot of scenarios that could fall into 100 different ways that language would be written. Another option to get around having a board meeting every single day or multiple times a week would be delegating approval by the chair and vice chair. You could have a phone call with 2 members that are voted on by the board each year. And, they could give consent in place of an emergency or a large repair or anything, and I don't,
The whole board could give the county engineer consent to do his job.
we're elected by the people to oversee the county.
And if you consent to the engineer to do his job, you're doing what they request. I think that the secondary road department, our employees, our equipment, we're getting the work done. I don't know. I don't think that there's been any budget problems in the last 10 years, has
Well,
there?
in regards to the budget, I made some notes on this because during budget, I mean, that was one thing you've said how many times, if you're operating within your budget, that's fine, right? Well, in the middle of February, the line item for engineer supplies and services was at 98% used for this fiscal year. In middle of February.
Supplies and services are in a bunch of different divisions. Which particular division were you talking about?
I did not write down the full line item, but I can give
That's
that
like-
to you.
Yeah, I mean,
I can get that to you, I have
no,
a
that's
paper
fine,
trail.
I just,
But it was 1.465 million used of 1.5 million. So we had less than $40,000 left in one specific line item.
what happens?
At the middle of
mean,
February.
Snow removal, what did snow removal do this year? It was about, it was about $200,000 over for snow removal.
And in regards to the budget, at that time, in the middle of February, we had already spent more for the fiscal year 23 budget than any of the previous 3 fiscal years.
Well, I
With
think,
10.7
I think what
million.
you're really looking at is something like fuel. I mean,
That's a
would
piece of
would
it.
you argue with me that typical things that you are purchasing as a personal product right now is higher than what it was 3 years ago? I mean,
I would
that
agree
is
with
what's
that.
going on, whether it's rock, whether it is tires, whether it is fuel, whether it is electricity. I mean, everything is higher priced. I mean, just to come out and say the sales and service line, I mean, that's, yes, I have a few lines in my budget on expenditures. And yes, every year, there are different amounts spent in that.
Yeah, and I mean, in Doug's defense, I mean, me too.
Yeah.
You know, my line items aren't always, positive, that's the whole point, you know, as the department head or elected official, you have to reallocate funds, as long as the bottom line doesn't go, into the negative, I mean, that's the important thing. And again, you know, what you do, you have the power to oversee, but I think, you know, what Doug is trying to say, and maybe has said it, I don't want to be insulting, but as an elected official, you know, if you were to say, you can do this, you can't do that, and it's blurry, how can I operate in that capacity? I mean, I can't. I have the benefit of I don't have large expense. I mean, you know, as far as when I buy things, they're not very, very much. But, you know, if you break down in order for the engineers department to function so that your constituents aren't without a graded road or without snow removed or without things like that, I think, you know, you need to be specific. If you have this policy for years, but it didn't apply to the county engineer, you know, again, I mean, a general policy is easy to look at and say, okay, this is gonna be applicable, but we all in the courthouse can the main floor in my office can see that and say no problem, but I mean, Doug is gonna have a hard time with that. You know, I don't know what you do, and it's not my job to tell you what you do, but it sounded like to me that you were looking at emergencies as opposed to new equipment purchases or something like that, I don't know. But that's gonna be a difficult task for you guys to formulate a policy that would be capable of being used by Doug to do his job. I would not want to, attempt to draft that because I have no idea how Doug's office in general operates. I mean, specific things, yes, but, you know, I don't know, yeah, I don't know what you're actually wanting to accomplish, but.
And
I'm just here to tell you that you can do that according to the law, but I don't know how that would be done to make sure that it's consistent across the board.
I think that's kind of been our discussion today, is trying to figure out how to, you know, better clarify it for you.
I guess my point is, what has ever been done by the road department that's really been in breach of the $5,000 limit that the board considered inappropriate, that was done by the road department?
And there may be different opinions on that. I mean, as far as amongst different board members, that's not really the point. It's, when Doug or any other department head, when we do vote on the claims, and we can deny a claim, you know, and so we still have power to approve or disapprove under the claims, and if there is a department head making questionable purchases that we're approving,
it doesn't matter if it's $100, if we don't think it's right, we should question it.
And that's what I mean. I mean, if it's $100 or $100,000, if we have a department head that's making questionable purchases and things that we don't approve of, then I feel that's another issue, and that your employee is not doing the job that he or she is supposed to be doing. And so, I guess that's where I feel the power of purse, and we as supervisors, we get all those claims, and we should have those discussions with Doug, with Todd, with whoever, and when we have concerns there, and if we have a big enough concern to address it there. That's my feeling. I don't know that there necessarily needs to be a policy. We did request of Doug to bring us expenses to the board. Not necessarily, we didn't request an emotion, but he did bring the air conditioner last week, and I appreciate that. I mean, and follow through with that, I guess is what I'm saying. So I don't know that that's.
Well, I guess.
I think we do have to trust that the department head do it.
Well, he brought it here, but the discussion was that it should have been on the agenda. Well, should it or shouldn't it have been on the agenda is my question.
For me, Doug is he's appointed, he's not elected. And the other issue is he's the only department head that comes in on a weekly basis and has meets with us. So we know every week that what's going on in his department. He brings stuff to us every week. And so that itself is a unique scenario, that we keep up the rest of what he's spending and what he's doing, because he comes in every week and has discussions with us. And I don't see where, you know, anything that he's done has been out of line.
Well, and I just feel that our concerns should be directed to the claims when they come to us, because we do have the power to say yes or no, rather than having that other middle step. I don't know that you're accomplishing a lot more than that, I guess is my point.
The difference at the claims point, like we had the conversation about uniforms that were purchased. When it gets to the claims, the work or product, whether it's materials, supplies, services, whatever, that's already been delivered by the time it comes to the claims. So, to Todd's point before, if he orders a whole new set of office furniture and it comes to our claims, but it's already been installed and it's done over, what are you gonna do about it? It's the timing aspect of that approval as much as the approval itself.
And I think, you know, that pre-approval for us, again, separating us from the engineers department because we don't have those type of massive purchases, provides us some protection. You know, we come to the board and say, this is what I need, this is what I'm thinking, are you going to approve that? And, you know, at that point in time, the discussion is had and, you know, the blessing of the board is bestowed, but, you know, again, that's in my world. You know, I don't have something break down that's expensive to fix. So, yeah, I don't know how that would work and what the correct scenario would be for you guys, but, so given the fact that, you know, we've always had this policy, I mean, I don't think that necessarily is the issue. The issue is how would that work in, you know, the engineers department's capabilities. And I don't know how that would be fashioned to be usable by the engineers department. Yeah, unless it's maybe new purchases, which, as you were pointing out, you know, maybe if it's a new purchase, if it's something emergency, broke down, needs fixed, needs gas, needs rock, needs things to do his job, maybe that's a little different scenario. Because that kind of fits into the way things have always been. Yeah, I mean, everything's more expensive nowadays.
Your everyday operations.
Yeah. And to your point of, I mean, Todd buying furniture,
Yeah.
you know, new office furniture and then coming to us. I guess the difference is, if he does it, Todd is not our employee. He's another elected official, you know, and so we can approve or disapprove of claims, and even if he is approving of things he doesn't like, then that's a public job to vote him out.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but Doug is an employee, you know, that if he buys all new office furniture or whatever he wants, you know, and whatever he wants to do, that's where we have conversations with him as an employer to an employee and say, hey, you've been doing a series of things here, or even if it's just been a couple things, this is a concern, please don't continue doing this. And then you go down the road of employer to employee relations rather than, I feel it's a different scenario too. So I guess what I'm saying is I think we should just leave it as is. Doug, continue to bring, you know, these, like with the air conditioner, and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing, is that okay? And I you know, I appreciate that, and I think if we have these major concerns, to have those employer to employee discussions, and that's just my feeling.
You wanna make that a motion and see if it passes, to leave it as
I
is?
don't know that it needs to be a motion to leave it as is, it's already
Well,
there.
otherwise we'll have to drop the agenda item.
I guess I don't know that I'm in favor of changing it today. I don't know. I guess.
I think, Doug, what we're asking for is that, you know, and you've done this in the past, but I think there have been a couple items, and I don't know specifics on them, they were purchased prior to our knowledge. If you've got a, you know, significant purchase that is coming up and you know about it and it's in, you know, you haven't signed the paperwork or anything like that, just bring it to our attention, you know, when we have our discussion. And then, you know, that way we can ask our questions then, and not, you know, after the fact of, oh, well, why was this purchased kind of thing, you know. That way we can have that discussion prior to this. And that's for the planned things, you know, stuff that, like I said, you know, that it's coming up in 2 weeks. You know, if you know about it 2 weeks out.
You brought up the example of an overhead door.
Yeah.
It's
And I don't know
over 30 years old, I mean, here's what happened, Josh.
Okay.
The transfer station says the overhead door is not working. I call up the overhead door company, they go out and look at it. They tell me that the rails are bent, the rollers, it's 30 years old, it's time to get a new one.
Yeah.
So I say, give me a quote, and I sign it.
Yep.
And the next week I came to the board and I said, I ordered an overhead door for the transfer station. Do you have a problem with that?
No, and
Okay.
just a little bit of background on it, you know, that way we know what happened. You say that it stopped working. Well, then that makes sense to me to get a new one, because that is part of the operation, you know, is to have that door working. So that's not a big issue to me. You know, it's just things that, you know, about 2 weeks in advance, at least, you know, a project or something like that, they, just as long as it comes to us prior to purchasing, I think, you know, do you guys
So-
agree on that? It's-
2 weeks in advance, I think that when I know of things 2 weeks in advance, I do tell the board about it. It's decisions that are made on a daily basis.
Right,
And again, last week, my foreman called me up and they say that they're running low on corrugated metal pipe.
Yep.
We get a phone call from somebody that it looks like a tile's broken in a road ditch. We go out and look at it, tile's broken in the road ditch. Sometimes we don't just replace a 4-foot piece of tile. We'll say, that tile looks like it's bad going through the whole road. We'll dig it all up. $7,000 load of pipe has to come up to replace it.
yeah, and I'm not arguing that, you know, that is something that keeps you operational, you know, keeps the infrastructure operational. So that, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Even, I guess I'm saying, every decision that I make, it keeps us operational.
Yeah.
What I would say is if we're going to keep the policy in the effect that it has been carried out, I think there should be a motion to exempt the secondary road department from that policy, because for
I've said that
black and
forever.
white,
Are you making that motion? We have to get on, we've talked this to death.
I'm saying I think there should be documentation for it. If that's the route the board wants to go, there should be documentation, in my opinion.
And that's what the other counties around us end up doing, what I have found.
Okay, somebody wanna make a motion to that effect? Let's get done with this.
I'll make a motion to,
Exempt the road department.
exempt the road department from the $5,000 pre-approval spending limit,
Okay,
or however that should be worded.
To exempt the road department from
$5,000.
$5,000 spending policy?
It's on
Right.
policy, so.
Well, it's, yeah, it's
Procedures.
just a-
Spending limit, would be
Okay.
probably appropriate.
And, yeah,
Okay,
I'll second his motion. Do a roll call vote, please. Any more discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote.
Plath,
Yes.
Nath,
yes.
Wactor,
yes,
Stecker,
No,
Jerks.
Yes. Motion carried 4-1.
Thank you, and I'll continue to make an effort to let you guys know what's going on.
yeah, and it's not just for us too, it's also for the public.
Well, yes. we will try.
and I will say I appreciate the heads up and stuff as that has happened. I feel we could put something in a policy, but obviously that's fine, so.
We have a road crossing, Doug.
Yes, we do. There's two in the road right away. The first one is a request from Iowa Lakes out of Esterville. They would like to pour underground electric under 410th Street. This would be replacing some maintenance work, upgrading the system, and I recommend. This would be under 410th Street at 1606 410th Street, Springfield Township.
Mr. Stecker, would you like to make that motion?
Yeah, I would.
Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Wactor? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, motion carried unanimous.
And then, we do have some resurfacing that started last week, and, with all of our road construction, we do take official action. So there's a resolution in the packet with a location map of the 3 resurfacing projects. So if the board would take that official action. These roads will be closed when they start,
Some of them.
when they
Carter
start
and I,
working.
I'll make the motion, I'll let
You
Carter
got
second
most
it.
of it.
Yeah.
I'll second.
I'll make a motion to approve the paving, Carter seconds it. Any discussion on the motion?
Do we need to set a resolution number?
Yes. 05-30-23-01. Any discussion on the resolution? If not, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Plath, Nath,
Yes.
Whacker,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes.
Jerks.
Yes. Resolution carried.
Two documents that need to be signed here. There's that resolution, please, Tammy, if you could get that also.
Nice bleeding, Kenta. I see you write real nice.
Oh, thank you.
And that's the, approval of the work in the road right away.
Sooner or later, you're gonna learn some of that, Joe.
All right, thank you.
Pick up something.
We are up to, discussion with our engineer and zoning administrator.
Right now, with the weekend, I'm trying to get caught up this morning. I know we do have a truck over in Decorah that's being worked on. And we have some other equipment, the transfer station loader is one that hopefully, it may have actually been repaired Friday afternoon, I'm not sure. But those two pieces of equipment are being worked on.
Is that truck a regenerator?
No, this one is out of the lead yard shop and it had some coolant problems and some transmission problems, so we just, with our shop labor shortage right now, we've got it over there to get them working on that. Construction project, Merriman's up at Lincoln Township, they are complete, or they've got it to a point where we need to get some guardrail blisters, we call them, to put the guardrail on, approach guardrail on the bridges. And then I've not heard anything from the Seneca Gun Club, there's a bridge there. I've not heard anything from Rognus about that project. I think they'll probably wait and get that in the next fiscal year. However, we may be paying for some stockpile materials. I know that that's precast culvert and those sections have been made. They were completed last fall. Other than that, like I say, got to work this morning trying to get caught up on everything, so.
Any discussion for Doug other than what we've heard about today?
Do you know, there was a truck in the Wesley shop that's been down for a while, do you know what the status is on that, or is that back?
I think it got back carted
Okay.
last week.
Okay.
Yes, I'm aware of it, that
Okay.
situation.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
What's our status on hiring a mechanic or anything?
I actually have some background checks being done right now, and I need to talk to Donna to see where we're at.
Okay.
How many candidates have you got?
I ended up interviewing 3.
Okay, good.
And Ledyard, John Turnus retired, and there is an advertisement in the Soy City, Bancroft, Algona Reminder, and the Kossuth County Advance, and we'll be getting that forwarded out to all the other places where we advertise. I don't know if I'm gonna do Indeed on that one. Seems like we usually get somebody local there, we'll see how it goes.
Which township did he take care of?
He took care of kind of south of the Ledyard shop, the ethanol plant, and the gravel roads from Lakota over to 169, kind of in that area. The ethanol plant in south and west.
Okay.
Jerry Johnson's area.
Oh,
John took over, was hired after Jerry retired.
any other questions? If not, we're gonna
Just-
take a break before drainage.
Just, I was gonna say, I went across the stuff in the Union Slough, here this weekend, and that was significant improvement.
Good.
I drove over it this morning, it didn't even bounce.
The slurry leveling crew did finish up Friday.
Did
so
they?
they're
They
out.
did a good job on the blacktops that I drove on.
Good.
Yeah,
I was
Yeah, they
pleased.
do
I can barely notice it going across the slough, but not much. You used to never miss it. but yeah, no, it's pretty smooth.
Good,
Yeah, that's a lot better.
alright, thank you.
How'd it turn out by Nick's place? Did they get that in?
We're gonna put an asphalt patch on that.
Oh, yeah.
We did not have that, that's a big area, it's slurry. So we're gonna do that with asphalt,
Good.
so that's on our patching list.
Yep.
Along, the priority patching though is like the four-way bridge and the bridge there by the big 6 elevator and any other places where we had pavement construction last year. We gotta get those going first, so.
Do you have a timeline on any of them, like when they'll
Well,
be patched?
we do that with Blacktop Service and sometimes they call us up on a Monday and say we're ready to go. We got a map to them and we're ready to go. So, we're kind of at their mercy there.
Yep, thanks Doug.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. We're gonna take a 15-minute break before we start draining.
Hey, I gotta feel my toes again.
Yeah, me too.
I gotta,
Yeah, you got some sun yesterday. You must've been outside a lot longer than I was.
Yeah, well, we had of course, our town deal in Laverne. I was up down about 11 to 3 and then went over to the lake. From then till, we were over there till probably 7, so, yeah. Out on the water.
Yeah, that'll,
Morning, Joe.
that'll give you some sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went out fishing and did put sunblock on and I got my back towards the.
Yeah, you got a little
Yeah,
stuff back there,
yeah,
too.
it's
Yeah.
quite burnt. Oh.
We'll be back, don't worry.
Yep, have a good one, see ya. Of course, I left that in here. I'll be right back. I was trying to call people back before I even got out of the room.
Oh, yeah, listen. Hey! Oh, I have to say that.
I can balance that.
I can trade for that, we're good.
Joe. How you doing? Good. Did you get some rain? Yeah. Did you? Yeah. Didn't get a drop here in town. Oh, you're lucky or unlucky? We're unlucky. We need it.
Yeah.
I walked across the lawn and it just goes crunch, crunch, crunch.
I tried to walk barefoot through the grass and it's rougher than heck.
Good, yeah, too hard.
Hard on my little tender feet.
Yeah.
It was about as dry as I've ever seen it.
Oh,
This time of
I've seen
year.
it dry, but wait till July and August if that if that almanac is right, and that little
La Nina,
comes in, it's supposed to be hot and dry.
I don't know. I thought El Nino was showing up.
Well, we're in that now, but then it's gonna turn to Lundy or whatever, whichever one it is.
There's something blowing up.
Marge coming in.
Yep, she's on her way.
Good. Oh, let's see, we can go to drainage.
Hey, Marge.
Hello.
How are you?
Not too bad.
Do anything fun this weekend?
The usual.
And she
Watch
got
Tom get up and go to work, go out in the field.
Do some spraying, yeah, and
Spraying.
decorate graves and go to the ceremony on Monday.
She got too late for chicken. She
Yeah.
wasn't lucky like you, Jack. She missed the chicken.
I was disappointed, we didn't, this is the first year in a long time ago we had a service on the Kossuth cemetery.
I noticed that too, yeah, so they're gonna rotate.
I imagine next year we'll have, well, we're gonna get another priest, so in July, so maybe that'll make a difference.
Could be, yeah, we're down to
St.
one.
Benedict had it, West.
St. Joseph.
We had
St. Joseph.
St. Joe and St. Benedict had it.
I see Zachary still can't spell his name.
All you see is a Z. Is that
What do you mean, the signature?
Yeah.
You have ever read any doctor's signatures?
And your friend is on the phone, won't talk to him.
Sure, you want me to?
Okay.
Yep. Are we ready to start drainage? Our first thing on the agenda is DD 60 sub 1, change order. Marge, we have it in our folder. You have any comments on it?
No, I don't.
Pretty straightforward. Anybody got any questions? It's
It's
three
all for
different,
rock.
huh? Yeah, it's all for
Yeah.
All for rock.
P 1, 2, and 3. If there's no questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the change order for DD 60 sub 1, and it's the second pay order request.
Second change order, yeah,
Change order.
I'd make that motion.
Mr. Stecker makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Wactor. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried unanimous. Our next one is pay app number 4 for DD 60 sub 1. Any discussion on this, Marge, before we make a motion?
Straightforward.
Any questions? Always great. Just the amount of work that's done so far, getting caught up, so
Yeah.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Stecker makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the pay app, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next one is change order 3 for DD 4 FEMA repair.
And this would be, the final one, this is the rectification of quantities, which every engineering firm does at the end, so there's the pipe kinda balanced out, plus and minus in the different sizes. The big change is additional rock that was needed for different areas of the ditch, but other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory, I guess. Any questions?
FEMA approved the rock, originally they said they wouldn't approve rock, now they're approving rock.
Well, they're approving rock based on engineers' recommendations, that we don't have anything black and white that they're approving it, but we've already gotten money based on the pay apps that we've submitted so far, which had rock included, so it is a portion of the project, but we had to keep it limited, so, yeah. So. No, there's nothing else.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve this change order as well.
do I have a second to approve or change order 3 for DD4 for FEMA repairs? I'll second it. We need FEMA to approve it.
Yeah.
Is
We've
there
got,
any questions on the order? Seeing those questions, all those in favor of change order 3 for DD4 FEMA repairs, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimous. Pay app 7 for DD4 FEMA repairs. Mr. Stecker, you have any comments on this one?
This is kind of getting up to the final payment, or it's semi-final, but we still have the retainage, so that would be the final.
This would be for everything but
But the retainage, which,
correct?
yeah, 138,000 in retainage, so,
It pays the last $105,768.49.
which they're eligible for, yep,
Correct.
so.
Does anybody have any questions
kinda
on it, whether it
rounds
should
out.
be paid or not?
This pertaining to what we looked at here. Yeah. I guess with the concerns of landowners, I mean, has stuff been, how do we handle that through the engineering?
So that's the retainage, that 138,000
Sure.
will be addressed at the completion
Okay,
hearing,
yep.
so the process of that will be coming forward in the future.
Yep.
My
And-
question is, do you think it has more than $138,000 that's been left undone?
No, I would say not even close.
The,
I know Tyler's kinda got a tab of certain things I've seen, a couple thousand here and there. I think the biggest one is 5,000 or close to 5 for Mike Kaler.
Yep.
So, I mean, I feel the 138 is more than sufficient to cover all damages that I'm aware of, at least.
that includes, I think there's 2 or 3 tile outlets that he missed that really, it should be up to the contractor to put in and fix.
That were missed completely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do we think it's appropriate to have
That-
him come in and fix them, and they should be at his nickel because he missed them?
I would say that should be addressed at the completion hearing out of the retainage, if that's how, you'd like to handle it. They can be made to be brought back for work that fails due to, workmanship and all that. If they were completely missed, that'd probably be a conversation with the engineer and contractor.
I,
But-
think it should be, some of that should be addressed before the completion hearing, and I think
What,
we should
what location are the ones that were completely missed? In
I
where
marked
Ed Stein
2.
Farms,
One is Ed's and one's in a different one. And my memory isn't perfect.
There's one for, Vasquez, right on these.
And that's the third one,
Okay,
so there'd be three.
um,
The other one I seen.
which
when I
that
drove
one,
the
they
day.
did do a substantial amount of exploration
They
there,
never
could not
found
find, could not find it, and the landowners did not have a very precise location on where that was, so
Yep.
there's only so much we're gonna be able to do until it shows itself.
Well, there's two that I seen that were coming out of the bank where there's no pipe. And I
Okay.
think maybe they should be completed before we have the completion hearing. I'll ask Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, talking to Tyler, I'd say it'd be the best thing, but I don't think any of that would apply to this pay app.
Okay,
Um,
if you're comfortable.
From everything I'm aware of, I think the retainage that we have is more than sufficient.
Even with fixing that.
Oh, yeah, I
It'll
mean,
it'll be fine, yeah.
a couple pipes
Okay.
won't be that big a
As
deal.
long as everybody's satisfied, I wanna make sure.
And the retainage is I mean, it's spelled out in the contract, retainage is 10%, I don't feel like we can hold any more just because.
No.
So, I'd make the motion to approve the pay
Yeah, I
app
have
7.
a second Mr. Stecker's motion. Carter, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Marge, we have a few drainage repairs again?
Yeah.
I think Kyle ended up with more treasure. I didn't see one here.
Just Kyle and Roger.
I don't have one. I was thinking of.
Thank you.
There we go.
That didn't
I
get.
can see the jealousy sitting there.
You have a
Josh, you
library?
want a stack?
No.
You wanna start with your one?
Sure.
And then you can go.
I'll start with my one. I have one in Lots Creek, it'd be number 54. It's in PK1. There's a broken tile and it was turned in by Keith Sherlin. And I have Reitzel putting in a cattle crossing a couple miles away, so I said, why don't you just go up and fix it? So Reitzel's gonna fix it.
Okay. First one I got is 46, Lincoln section 8 for Arlen Valvik. Check the outlet pipe in the ditch and then there's broken tile in the field. And we got 47, Springfield 22 for Ken Newman. Large washout in CRP, looks like. Number 48, Hebron section 13, outlet pipes bent down, broken, needs repaired and placed. For Dave Halverson. 49, Harrison 33, Ed Stein, request 3 loads of black dirt to repair ditch bank. And 1 load of rock to repair. Do you know what that load of rock was for?
I think he's gonna put it where some of the dirt was washed down on the side of the banks. He talked about it when Carter and I were out there.
Okay. Previously with this one, we had discussed doing the drone flight and handling all these at the completion hearing. Is everyone?
That's what I guess what I thought we were doing.
Yeah, is everyone in agreement with throwing that in the pile for that?
Kinda like we're
or-
doing back one, where
Okay,
it's all
yep.
gonna be under one.
Yep, okay. And number 50 is Darlene Ray for leveling spoil on drain 4 and Ramsey 18 and 19.
That's,
And this is another one for the completion hearing, which that is already done and they are very satisfied with the work. Number 51, lead yard section 3, broken tile for Bill Mavis. And it says grant repair. Is that already done?
Yeah.
Okay. 52 is grant section 22, Dale Coal Ash. Did you already do it for 2 spots, broken tile?
Yeah, Dale's supposed to have it repaired.
Okay, okay. For Gail Peterson and Brian Mino. And the last one, grant section 16, broken tile, needs repair for Brian Mino again. And Dale Coal Ash is on that one, so. Did he call in to you, Marge, or he talked to you?
He called in Marge.
Called in to you, okay. Sounds good. Well, that's my,
Some of them can't get used
Christmas
to
present.
calling you yet.
that's fine.
Do I have a motion for the supervisors to take care of the drainage issues? Mr. Plath made the motion, Mr. Wactor
I'll
seconded it. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried unanimous. And we are right on time at 10:01 to open the public hearing for DD4 Lat 11.
I'll make a motion to open public hearing.
Carter, will second it. I have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. Do a roll call vote, please.
Plath,
Yes.
Nah,
Yes.
Wactor,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes.
Jerks.
Yes. The public hearing is open, Mr. Niedermeyer, you're getting ready.
All right, yeah.
You wanna hook into the,
Yeah, I don't want to record so I can reach my computer and talk up here at the same time.
okay.
Guys having a busy morning so far?
Yes. Can't say that we did anything right yet, but.
We're all getting there, right?
Where did those all go?
I think some are done better, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what happened to the rest of these.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Where's the plug in?
You should be
Right
able to
there.
unplug
Yeah,
that,
just
right?
plug
You
it
you can
in.
unplug that, yeah.
Yep,
Gotcha.
we try and make it as complicated as possible here, especially for engineers.
The guys that should know the computers.
It's not like you spend a
Alrighty.
couple minutes on them.
Do you want the light?
Oh, hit the light.
Racing in the chairs now?
Yeah.
I don't want her to fall
Not
out of the
wheelchair,
chair.
Yeah, that could
Chair.
happen. I fell yesterday, that's bad now.
That's supposed to do that.
Two scraped up knees, oh my goodness.
I was trying to remember where the presentation button is.
Slideshow on the top.
Yeah,
Slideshow.
That won't be in it.
Yeah. Good job.
All right. Yeah, I spent all my time putting these together, just a few minutes looking for that button. All right, so here we are at the DD4 lateral 11 completion hearing. So I was fortunate enough to bump into Rich just a few minutes ago, and we talked about which completion hearing is today. So while I was sitting there, I made a point. If you get, this is what we're looking at. So if you guys are here with questions on another ditch, that might be for a different day. But what we're looking at today is lateral 11, which Bancroft is right here to the southwest of lateral 11. This is a north-south general 11 ditch. And that's what we'll be talking about.
Yeah, the
So-
radio had it wrong today. They
What's
said DD4 on the radio, they didn't put lat 11.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they probably had a few people confused.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, I mean, they all, DD4 is connected to it, but yeah, not a part of this. So without further ado, we'll get into it. the purpose of this hearing is to consider the completion of planned repairs made to lateral 11. So this is an open forum for any questions or concerns in relation to the completion of the work that was done. And we can also talk about written damage claims if you have any. If you want to talk about them, that's fine, but at the end of the day, for anything to be done, they need to be put in writing, even if it's just on a quick piece of paper, and handed in to the auditor. So, at the outcome of this meeting, what we'll do is we'll either accept the completion of the work, or we'll extend for a further investigation. Go back, look at some things, fix anything if needed, and delay the completion. If we accept the completion today, what happens is we release the retainage. And just a reminder on what that is, as the contractor does the work, we hold 10% of the cost of what they've done to make sure that they do a correct job and they do what we've asked them to. And then once we have ticked all the boxes, we give them that 10%. So that's what we're holding today, and if everything's good, we'll go ahead and release that to the contractor. So, a little bit of a background. Again, the location of lateral 11 stretches from section 19 of Ramsey Township up to section 6 of Ramsey Township, just a couple of miles. And it outlets into the main open ditch of DD4. Much larger ditch, but it's just to the east of Bancroft and a little bit to the south. The original length of this ditch was 14,160 feet. And alongside this project, this ditch was shortened a little bit and the top end of the ditch was replaced with tile. So now it's about 13,400 feet long. And we can get into that in just a minute. Well, or we can get into it right now. So just a quick overview of the work that was done. Anywhere where you see red is where we did most of our work. We also replaced a number of tile outlets and surface drains along the entirety of the ditch. But where you see red is where we are generally dipping and pulling out sediment from the bottom. And then at the very top end, the north end there, is where the ditch was replaced with tile. So construction costs, the original contract that was let was for $134,847.00. We had negative $20,954.15 worth of change orders. So we overestimated the amount of pipe that this was going to take and a few other items. So that brought the total cost down to, I want to say, yeah, it'd be $113,890. And so in that we held 10% retainage, which comes to $11,389.28. That's really the long and short of what I have. So we can go into questions. You guys have any questions?
I got documents here, about 6 points that William and Mary Goshen would like to make. They enter into the record.
Thank you.
You want a copy? We'll just go down through these 6 points and discuss them. I don't think I wanna delay the closing, but I think there's some things here that should be looked at. Now, Dan, we went out there about a week ago just to inspect the physical project.
Okay.
And we looked at the end of the ditch where you put that river. I don't know what you call it, it's
Yeah.
a crap or.
The generic term is tied concrete block mat. Block mat, I believe, flex mat is the brand I think that they use.
And you've been out there and looked to see how it was installed and.
Yeah, we went out there for the install, and then we saw some stuff we wanted them to change, so we went out and made sure that was done.
Okay, one of the things that I saw, and I got pictures of it, is it looks to me like what you have there is a waterway extending like an eighth to a quarter of a mile into the neighbor's field. That's gonna drain right into there. And the problem I see with that is if you get a rain and you're doing maximum tillage, you're gonna get siltation at the end of that ditch.
Okay.
And that wasn't caused by anybody here in the drainage district or anything like that. That was caused by somebody wanting just to close the ditch. So who's gonna pay for his field runoff? And we gotta clean the end of that ditch out. That's my point number one. I think we should consider that, because most of the time when I see something like that, they generally have a grass waterway. Or, you know what I'm saying? To bring the water in from the field and then. Sure. For the land.
Do you want Joe to come up and address the board? Because he's.
And I've already noticed some silting, and I got pictures of some silt already on it. Now, maybe when that comes up with grass and stuff, a lot of these, bulkheads, they kind of prevent water from just directly going right into that. You know, so they would usually have something that keeps the soil out of the ditch.
Joe, is your issue with Mr. Wiedemeyer or the board?
Well, I think we just should consider it for the.
We can't hear you from back there.
Do you wanna explain it to them what we're talking about?
Joe,
If
you wanna
anyone,
move up to that chair?
yeah, if anyone from the public wants to address the board, they need to come up in front here.
The issue is the way the end of the ditch was designed. When you go out and take a look at it, it looks like there's a waterway that extends an eighth to a quarter of a mile up into the field. And if he keeps tilling it the way he does, and we get a big rain, you're gonna get siltation down into the ditch. So, that wasn't created by the drainage district. You know what I'm saying? You know, so who's gonna pay if, let's hope it doesn't happen. But the way it looks to me like there's a pretty good probability that the end of that ditch is gonna fill in. That's the way that's constructed. That's just me looking at it. I'm not a professional, but I've seen erosion and
Sure.
that's what I'm concerned about. So why should the district be paying for something that can be avoided?
Are those acres in the district, Mr. Wiedemeyer?
Yeah, well, to answer the siltation question, I would argue that what we put in today is better than what we had before, for a couple reasons. One, what we put in was this block map. And a way to describe that is, if you can imagine, well, kind of like you described, we made a transition from the fields around to the ditch. And in fact, a transition that's meant to channel water from the fields around to the bottom. A head wall does the exact same thing. What it does is it boxes the end of the ditch and makes it so that any water that is transitioning from those fields goes over the head wall and doesn't eat out around the ditch. But what the head wall doesn't do is it doesn't prevent silt. Any water that comes over that head wall takes everything with it and goes right over that. What we did was we got rid of the head wall, we put it in this mat, that what the mat is meant to do is temporarily hold the sides of the ditch in place and then allow grass to grow up through it to lock the mat in place. So what you end up with is a slow transition from top to bottom that has grass along that entire length of the transition. Now it takes a little bit for the grass to grow up, especially these days, like you and I were talking about with drought. But the mat that they put in has this. It's if you can imagine a fishing net and then a layer of straw with seed infused into the straw, and then I want to say there's kind of a landscaping grid underneath that. But the idea is it's supposed to make the best possible scenario for seed to grow. So, yeah, it's not a grass waterway through the entirety of the district, but that's not something that we asked for either, and that's not something that we had before. So what we have today, I would argue, is a little bit better situation from the silt standpoint.
Okay,
Yeah.
That was my observation.
Sure, yeah, it's worth it. These are all things that are great to bring up at a closing meeting, thank you.
Alright, point number 2, there's a junction box located in section 36 of Harrison Township that's got a 15, 18, and 24-inch tile coming into it. And then, that box exits at 24 and 30-inch goes out. The 30-inch going out services the 24 coming in and has very little flow. I mean, I got a video of it, it's just about stagnant. The 24-inch services the 15 and 18 coming in and has rapid flow in it, and I get, like I say, you can just visibly see that. The box is designed for water to cross over. The district has headwater over the 24-inch coming in, and the 30-inch should have better flow rate unless something is restricting the flow. Now, what I mean by headwater is I drove where the pipes, it has really nothing to do with the ditch, but it does when it comes to the outlet. You see what I'm saying? When I say about headwater, there was standing water in the fields over that 24-inch tile that comes into the box that turns to a 30, okay?
Okay.
So that should give it pressure.
Sure.
And I've heard there's some complaints that there's some problems in Union Sioux Wildlife Refuge, and that's fine, but still, we have headwater over that. Now, when I read the records, there should have been 2 lines at the end of the open ditch specifically dug out, and that open ditch that you converted, you know, to this height, that was specifically dug out to, service this relief that's on your map. And then Ambrose County, he was a farm owner at the time, trusted old banker, had put several repair requests in which referred to the 2 relief tile put in, and they were 32 and 36. Now, what my question is, where's the second relief line, as there is only one coming into the 48-inch outlet directly south of the end of the open ditch, northeast, on the northeast of the northwest section 7 of Ramsey Township, and that's, you can see there's 3 lines coming in there from that top right there.
You're talking about,
right there.
Right up here?
Yeah.
Okay.
The only pipe coming into that deal there is either a 32 or 36 and 116. Now your map shows in 2019 that you have a 16 coming in on the east side of that deal. That's not there.
The 6 on the east side of what?
Well, if you look at my exhibit 1, there's the back. I got it included here, I'll show you. This is your 2019 version.
Oh,
this is the 32, they transition that 30 to a 32, and they come down here, and then you say it transitions to a 16. That's on your map, that was offered in 2019, and it was approved by this board.
Sure.
So, okay, I would say that maybe one of the reasons why that water is moving slowly up in that box is we have a restriction down here. Your map.
That's the argument?
Yeah, that's the argument. I think we have a restriction that I put in a repair request here just last week after Steve Linky and I went out there and looked at it. That line is definitely restricted, and I think it has the ability to cross over to the 24 because the records that I read said that they were gonna design that 36 to hit both of those tiles. So if you got one coming straight down, like I see in that 48, where's the second one? And if you gotta have backflow on that 36 to get over to the 24, well now it's gotta wait until the 24 clears out and then it'll slowly come down. That's what I think. So I think by altering, I just think there's a problem there, and the records show that the end of that ditch was specifically dug out for that 36-inch relief. And that 30 is not run.
Yeah, I mean, we only tied a 10 and a 16 into the 30. That's all that we found right there. Well, excuse me, no, it'd be a 10, a 16, and then there were a couple, I believe, 8-inch tiles. One coming in from the east and another one further to the south, but yeah.
Jay had a new main coming in there. And then,
Yep.
I think Steve has
That's right, too.
private that you don't see on your maps.
Yeah, that new main would have been put in just about the time that we redid this, yeah.
A little earlier, yeah.
Yep,
And then
but
they had that other one, and that's another mistake, I think on your map, that's this L11B is what you're talking about. This one right here. That actually came down into this ditch here. That's what Rachel figured out.
Oh, so it would be a 12 to a 14
and then
to a 16 when it outlets to the ditch.
Oh boy, see, they came here, yeah, it was something like that. There was 3 pipe coming in the end of that ditch.
Yeah, at the time of construction, at the time we surveyed it, it would have just been 2. The third one would be the one that Jay put in when he told me.
Right, yeah, that could be, yeah, that's right, cause we started looking at this back in like 2019.
It's been a little bit, and when I say 3, so it would be, it used to be a wood head wall boxed in.
Yeah.
So there were 2 pipes in the head wall, and then there was another, I said 8, it might have been 6, there's such as, there was this plastic pipe just kinda flopped into the bottom of the ditch, off to the side of the head wall, but maybe 50 feet south of it. But yeah, again.
What side of the wall was that?
Would have been to the southeast, I believe. I walked that thing a few times, and again, this is one, it was laying in the bottom, like covered up with grass. I think I almost tripped over it, and that's the only reason I found it, but yeah, they're really.
Cause I saw 2 tin whistles.
Yep, yeah.
One on either side of, New Wayne that, was put in that center. That's what I saw.
Yep, yeah, and those have been there for a long time.
Yeah, that's right, they look like. Okay, where are we at here now? So I think that's gonna have to be investigated a little bit. And then you're gonna have to decide, I don't know what they're gonna find, maybe they won't find nothing. You know, I don't know what they're gonna find.
Sure.
But if that guy cut off, we got a problem.
I guess I would be surprised if it was, because you'd think you'd start to see issues in that field.
That's right, but if it's laying flat now, you just start down.
There's several sections up in here.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
All right. Okay, let's go here. I think I'm pretty, now I come down to my item 3. And here's a little bit of a problem that I see that kind of goes on here. This is more towards the supervisors than anything. I got a list of warrants that are over 2 years old. Now, I don't mind paying a guy. I think the work they did is okay. But what I don't like is when the district has to pay more interest than they're legally obligated to. And if you read 468-127, all these warrants have to be dished out. They can't be over 2 years old. That's kind of the law, and I've kind of been seeing the board here kind of going a little bit beyond here, so I told them up here, yeah, $32,650.56. You know, I don't mind paying the clerk. I just, you know, I think they could have spread the warrants out earlier so that the district, if somebody didn't want to pay the interest, they could have avoided paying the interest. Now, you might say, well, that's what we do. Well, you have 2 warrants on the next page that were distributed at the proper time for the same project. You know, and the only thing I'm complaining about is the extra interest that's property on the second page.
There's no money, you can't pay it.
The project wasn't done.
Right.
Yeah, but that, you have to spread it so you can get the money.
The project wasn't done, we don't spread it until the
That
project's
don't make a
done.
bit of difference, Roger, if you read the law. You can be in the middle of a project, and if those warrants are getting to be 2 years old, you gotta spread them. The only way you can avoid that is if you, allow the waiver of those, but then you have to give the people the right to decide whether they wanna pay the extra interest or not. You have to start that. That's the law. So, these guys aren't gonna agree with me, so that's fine. Okay, now the other thing I noticed in the records is that we have two, invoices. It's on item number 4 there, it's 14/16/90 and 14/25/06. And it looks like McClure Engineering did some work for Jay Goshi. Now, Jay Goshi said he was gonna pay for all this blind in the ditch and all that. So I would think that, if he promised to pay that those two invoices should go to Jay.
Dan, do you wanna talk on that?
Sure.
I think, and Phil,
Yeah. So we opted to track that, so that we have full transparency on what's going on. And what those were for was, you know, Jay says, hey, I wanna put a tile in where this ditch is at. Well, okay, how do you go about that? Well, if you are gonna do it, we wanna make sure that the district is up, or that the tile is up to district standards, and it's not put in a haphazard way that's gonna cause issues down the line with the ditch. So, to make sure that, there's engineering fee that goes along with that. So what we did was we said, okay, Jay, you need to hire an engineer to put this design to paper and submit it, which he went ahead and hired Jacobson Westergaard for that. And then McClure, representing the district and the landowners of the district, will look over that plan and make sure that it's put in a kind of method that we feel is beneficial to the district. Assuming again that Jay pays for putting that improvement in. Now we wanted to track those engineering costs to see what they looked like at the end of this, with the potential to charge those to Jay. Now, the thing that we see along with that is when you filled in the ditch, we had, again, we were talking about 4 existing pipes on that section of ditch, not including the new one that he put in. But there was the two whistles that we saw in the head wall. There's a smaller one just a little south of it, and then there's another one just kind of by the fence line to the south where we ended the ditch. All of those would have required new tin pipes put on them, and that's what we had bid as part of the project, was to go ahead and put those in. In addition to, if we want to put riprap around those to protect those, and also, as we moved, I'll get into that. Anyways, all of that added up to more money than what my engineering bill would have come out to be. So, one thing we talked about, and we can talk about this as part of the hearing, was since he ended up saving the district money as part of that, then we would just call the engineering fee a wash. But that can be a discussion topic for right now, absolutely. The other thing that he saved on was, when we talked about that transition from field above to field below, and how we use that grid map, there, we ended up using 120 some less feet of that. So at the end of the day, all of it doesn't boil out to a ton of money, but my engineering cost was less than the money that was saved in moving this head wall further to the south. That's what I got.
That's one thing I'll say is I appreciate the project coming in for less than what it was bid for, but it was bid for doing the entire ditch. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, I'm just going by what Jay said. He said he'd pay for all the engineering costs, won't cost the district anything.
Sure.
And the district would probably like to see that happen. You know, I mean, if you just get on the phone and start calling people, you wanna pay the bill or you want, you know, they'll tell you. Okay, that's that deal. Now, Kyle, he made a statement back in January that $61,686.32 were FEMA funds that were obligated for DD 411. And he said that Roger dropped the ball on that. And I went through all the records, Mr. Stecker. I didn't see any record of anything pertaining to the $61,686.32 for FEMA obligations, so what, and I never got any records from you, cause you said you were gonna give me the records, and I never got no records.
That was for a different project
Yeah,
that was
that's-
returned for, but
It had nothing to do with DD 11, or DD 411.
those funds did not have
So why
anything.
did you make that statement?
There was FEMA funds, eligible for this project, but that was not the specific funds that were returned at that point in time, it was for a different project.
So what's the amount of the FEMA funds that you're gonna use on this project?
There's,
None,
when they did a review, they determined the damage didn't qualify for FEMA, it was before the eligible FEMA funds.
If,
The damage happened before 2018.
right,
And that would be like the 16 that comes in on section 7.
well, the original damage was the outlets were forced, they were under mud.
well, like,
And
Yeah, I know what
we
you're
dipped the outlets, and that was before any damage occurred that was FEMA related. So we can't turn it into FEMA.
the general description is there's things that needed attention in the ditch, like siltation and broken pipes and stuff like that, and rusted pipes in particular was an obvious sign that it is from a lack of maintenance over years rather than a specific event that qualified for the presidential disaster declaration. So it was damage that was already there prior to this project happening, so it was not eligible.
It didn't fall under the FEMA.
It was not eligible for FEMA funds.
Okay. Now, Mr. Stecker, you accused Glenn and Mary Goshi LLC of taking 400 acres off of DD 411. You made public statements to that effect. And, you guys as trustees voted to spend engineering fees and legal fees to say we took water off of DD 411. Jay Goshi came before the board with the same statement on DD 80 lat 80, and the trustees voted to allow Jay Goshi off of DD 80 lat 80. The difference in the William and Mary Goshi case is the trustees are making these statements, not Johnny come-lately property owner. William and Mary Goshi only have 153 acres that are assessed to these districts. 50 acres are assessed to DD 80. Therefore, since the trustees appear to already be in agreement on this, William and Mary Goshi are asking to be taken off DD 4 lat 11 outlet on the 50 acres that will be permanently legally drained to DD 80 as the overlapping assessment schedules and the 2019 Kossuth County Drainage Plat book authored by McClure Engineering and approved by Kossuth County Supervisors at the time of the installation were used to guide the drainage installment on this track. The drainage legally installed by William and Mary Goshi LLC should be a greater benefit to DD 4 lat 11 as the outlet is currently having some restricted flow issues on the 30-inch pipe coming out of the junction box on Harrison 36, possibly due to a modified outlet allowed by the Kossuth County Supervisor trustees for Jay Goshi's benefit. The historical approval taken by this board of trustees on DD 80 lat 80 will on Jay Goshi off a $33,000 assessment just because Jay Goshi said he took water off DD 80 lat 80 and diverted it to DD 4 lat 3 illegally, that Jay Goshi was not even assessed in DD 4 lat 3 at the time and was allowed to stay attached to DD 80 lat 80 and not pay for the improvement to DD 80 lat 80. We're requesting to be permanently taken off of DD 4 lat 4 on the 50 acres that are on this track that we took to DD 80, and we did it legally.
That's not this hearing. That's not this hearing.
Well, I would say there's a lot of opinions in that statement you just shared, but I don't think that should be handled at this point with this hearing and pending litigation that's in process. I don't think that should be addressed right now.
I don't think you can say any more than that.
Yeah,
That's
that's all I had, but.
Okay. I would stop you from saying anything else. Anybody in the, excuse me, in the audience have anything to say about DD 4 lat 11 hearing? In public comment? If not, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Wactor, second by
I'll second.
Stecker. Do a roll call vote, please.
Whack,
Yes.
Nah,
Yes.
Wactor,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes,
Jerks.
Yes. Let the record show that no decision was made during the public hearing. At this time, Mr. Wiedemeyer, what would you like us to do as far as the public hearing and as far as motions to be made?
do you wanna flip back to your, PowerPoint for the
Right.
next steps or whatever? In the beginning, I think you had it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, to accept the work and release retainage.
We can do that in one motion. Are you satisfied with that?
Change order.
That's a good question. I think it's always been in one motion.
It's always been in one motion, but I want you to be satisfied today with that.
Yeah, I think
Satisfied with that.
we've always done that.
I
too.
would entertain a motion to approve the report and pay out the retainage.
I would, yeah, move to accept the completion of the work and release retainage.
Mr. Stecker made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Carter? Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, do a roll call vote, please.
Whack,
Yes.
Nah,
Yes.
Wactor,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes,
Jerks.
Yes.
and actually just for, your guys' sake, I don't know if you know, the retainage is paid 30 days after the completion hearing. So, it's not today or tomorrow, but it will be scheduled.
Any other issues to come before DD for Lat 11?
Hearing's already closed, so.
Yeah, but hearing none. We will go on with our other business and go back into our general session.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
We are up to discussion with our auditor.
Since, the jail starts getting ready for lunch at 11, could we do that after we come back from the jail cleanup?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Could, oh, yeah, go ahead. Are you signing something?
Yeah.
Josh, will you call Bailey at extension 405 and see if, she's ready for us?
Got a busy day planned.
I'm gonna head up to 67-1.
Okay.
It's my on that.
Might be a little wet.
Hey,
Yeah.
Bailey, it's Josh over here in the boardroom.
Are you guys ready for it lately?
Alright, perfect, we'll
That's
see
what
you
Nick
shortly.
said when he was up there.
Alright, thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you guys. You guys have busy days planned too?
Oh, we,
Just a couple things after this, not too much.
We get to go on it too.
Go on, Joey.
Field trip.